and I'm sharing my screen. So do you see my screen?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, great. So today I'm going to discuss about concept called Active Directory. So anybody knows what is Active Directory? Forget about the Azure Active Directory. So normal Active Directory. Anybody knows what is Active Directory? What is it
Uh,
for?
it's like a database.
Hmm?
It's
It
like a
provides
database.
access for the users
Okay.
and permissions and all.
Okay. Any other questions? Answers? Database and provide access to the users. Anything else? Shravanti? I see you're on mute always. I don't know why. Is that you attending or somebody else? Okay, I'll speak to you offline. Okay, Active Directory is a kind of identity and access management. Okay. Somebody asks what is Active Directory? You should say this particular word called identity and access management. So within our organization, so whenever you join any company, right, you will be given with a certain username and password to log into your company. Let's say it could be like if you join for any TCS company, okay, this your ID could be like let's say for example, if I join a TCS company, okay, my ID would be like my name, my first name would be last name, let's say whatever it is. Okay, let's say I'll keep it as a Azure at the rate of tcs.com. Okay, so this is how, okay, so your ID will be created. Okay, so let's say Azure will my first name and this is the last name. Let's say I'm just taking it as an example. Okay, so these user IDs and entire identity and access management will be managed under this particular Active Directory. Okay, this Active Directory will be helpful, okay, to manage the identity for the users. Let's say for example, if you take an organization, okay, let's say this is your organization. Okay, I'm just taking an example. So within organization, let's say I'll name it as a TCS itself. Okay, since I'm taking a TCS as an example, okay, I'll take a TCS as an example. So within a TCS, okay, we'll be having a different departments, right? Okay, so let's say we have a department called IT, we have a department called HR department. Okay, we might be having a department called finance, right? So we might be having a department called like marketing or whatsoever. Okay, so we'll be having a different departments, and each in each department, okay, we'll be having a different we'll be having a different applications, okay, which employees need an access. Let's say I'll consider as a IT as an example. Okay, so since we all once you join any company, we all belongs to IT department, right? Let's say even if you join any IT also, okay, within IT again you will be having a different verticals. Okay, I would say, okay, you will be having certain development team. Okay, you will be having certain operations team. Okay, and you will be having some testing team, right? And you might be having some XYZ. Okay, so let's say for example here, okay, I'll take it as a development. Okay, so this is the development team. Okay, so that is for the developers, and let's say this is operations. Okay, so this is operations, and this one I mentioned as a QA, right? That is testing. I'm taking a basic examples. Okay, so it could be something else, right? So now a employee joins. Okay, let's say for example within a development also again we'll be having a multiple projects, right? Let's say, okay, so I have two projects here. I'm taking an example. So one of the project name is, let's say I'll name it as a project 1. Okay, and project 2 here. Okay, so this is project 2. Let's say within a project 1, okay, I have almost like a 10 employees. Let's imagine. Okay, so here, okay, I have a 10 employees. So here I have one more another 10 employees. Okay, so these 10 employees to work on this particular specific project, they might need certain access levels, and the another 10 people who are working for a different project, they might need another access levels. right? Similarly, the people who are working for an operations, okay, they might be having a different access levels. Let's say, for example, here also, okay, there are 20 employees working on an operations. Okay, so this 20 employees, okay, need a different access levels. Same with the testing, same with the some XYZ, things. So a developer, let's say this particular 10 developer does not require any access on operation level and a testing level and the remaining departments also, right? He just need to grant a permission to this particular specific project. Okay, so that we can achieve it using this particular active directory, that is identity and access management. So for this specific project, okay, we can create a one group, that is a DL, and we can add the members into that particular group, so that that group, okay, we can assign it to the specific access level. So this access restrictions, okay, we can achieve it using this particular active directory. In a single word, you can just simply say identity and access management. If at all, if you wanted to set up an active directory, so you need to have a separate Windows server, and within that Windows server, okay, you need to enable this particular active directory feature. So which we are going to show you demos also today, maybe not today, tomorrow. So this is like a basic active directory. Now coming back to Azure Active Directory, I'll go to the portal. Okay, so here you can come back to the portal menu, and here you could see Azure Active Directory. So Azure Active Directory is kind of a managed service provided by Microsoft. It is also kind of identity and access management. So within your let's say whenever you created a free trial subscription, right, a specific tenant will be created. Okay, so here you could see this is the name of the tenant. Okay, that is coming as a default directory, and this is a tenant ID. Every tenant, okay, will be having some unique ID, and within a tenant we can have a multiple subscriptions. Since you have created a free trial account, so you will be given with a separate tenant and separate subscription. But within the organization, for your organization, let's say I'll take an example as a TCS will be having one unique tenant ID, and under that tenant ID you might have multiple subscriptions. Okay, and your tenant name should be like, this is the domain name actually. Okay, so since you have created this particular subscription with this particular email ID, so this is the name will be taken as a default. If not, okay, within your organization, your domain name would be like, tcs.onmicrosoft.com. Okay, so let me walk you through the some of the documents here. Just make sure that you will understand much. Okay, I'll just simply say Azure Active Directory docs. Okay, so here you could see, let's see what is Azure AD. Okay, here you could see Azure Active Directory. Sometimes we also call it as a AAD, that is Azure Active Directory. Don't get confused with the word. Is a Microsoft cloud-based identity and access management. It's a cloud-based, right? Okay, Microsoft is providing as a cloud service. It's a cloud-based identity and access management service, which helps employees to sign in and access the resource. Okay, so currently, even if you have an access to your free trial accounts, since you are part of this particular AD account, you are able to access it by default. Whenever you give an access to the subscription, right, for the external users, let's say, let me try to duplicate this window. So we have seen, right, straight away going back to the subscription and granting some permission to the external users. When I say external users, it is not something related to your domain name. Okay, let's say here if I go to my subscription, and this is my name of my subscription, and let's say here if I go ahead and add any member, let's say I'll add one member here now. Okay, and let's say I'll take this user as a reader, and I will give the member as, let's say, abcd.com. If somebody has let's say I'll say abcd@gmail.com. If somebody has an email with this email, okay, they will be getting a reader access to this particular subscription. So here, okay, I'm inviting this user, right? That user account, okay, will be created by default, okay, within this particular AD tenant also. So once you get an invite, okay, you are accepting the tenant invitation, right? So that means, okay, you are accepting that permission to your Active Directory. So let's say now if I assign that particular user, that is abcd.com, and I'll say assign it, by default you will be able to see that abcd@gmail.com user into this particular tenant. Can you see here now? ABCD user was created, Okay, that is abcd@gmail.com. He's an external user. Okay, so if the user wants to access any subscription, he should be part of a Active Directory. Fine. So we'll talk about more much about Active Directory here. Okay, so as we discussed, Azure Active Directory is a cloud-based identity and access management service. Okay, and we'll discuss about the some of the differentiations between your normal Active Directory and Azure Active Directory first. Then we'll come back to these additional steps. So I'll go here into the documentation itself. I'll just click on this particular compare Active Directory to Azure Active Directory, which is very important, guys. Okay, so here you could see this is a normal Active Directory and this is Azure Active Directory. Let's say I'll come back here and let me try to open my document here. Let me try to create a new page. I would say Azure Active Directory. Okay, let me take it as a text one. Okay, just a second, guys. Okay, so here, so I'm just taking this text file, okay, just to explain more. So we'll talk about some of the differences between Active Directory, okay, versus Azure Active Directory. Okay, I simply call it as a AAD. Okay, so if at all if you wanted to set up your Active Directory, okay, so we need to have a Windows server. Okay, so within the Windows server, okay, we'll be enabling the service called Active Directory. That is ADDS, we call it is. That is Active Directory Domain Service. Okay, so let me put it in a different column here. So we need to have a Windows server, and within the Windows server, okay, we enable this particular service called Active Directory Domain Services. Okay, so we need to enable this particular specific feature, okay, to get this particular Active Directory management under your Windows server. Okay, and it is something we need to manage it. But whereas coming back to the Azure Active Directory, it is something like cloud based and managed by Microsoft. Okay, I would say it is kind of a PaaS service. Okay, we don't need to do anything. I would say not a SaaS, it's a SaaS. Okay, software as a service. Okay, so we just need to create a tenant and we just have to use it. And how it is managed and everything, okay, you're not bothered about it. Okay, and in addition to this, okay, this is one of the major difference. Okay, and let me come back to the document. Yeah, so here if you see provisioning the users. Okay, so organizations create the initial users manually or use an in-house automated provisioning system. Let's say if any user onboarded, okay, let's say if I'm joining a company called TCS, okay, so somebody has to create this particular user manually. But here, so we can create the users first, or else okay, we can just also integrate this particular existing users to your Azure Active Directory. That means we can also migrate your existing on-premises users to your Azure Active Directory also. Okay, so that was the best practice generally companies follow. So how we can migrate this on-premises Active Directory users to Azure Active Directory, we are going to have a demo also maybe tomorrow or day after. Okay, so similarly, okay, so creating this particular external identities is also like it is kind of a manual, but here also we can just uh, do the same operations using this particular external identities. Okay, so whatever the Gmail or Outlook, whatever access I'm providing, right, so those are like external accounts only. So why it is external, okay, we'll see that now. And we have a kind of group management and additional stuff. Okay, the similar operations we can perform on a both Active Directory and as well as Azure Active Directory. Okay, so these are the some of the additional features like admin management. Okay, so within your Azure Active Directory by default you will be not having the full control. That means you will be not having the full permissions, okay, on your Azure Active Directory. If at all, if you wanted to perform certain operations on your Azure Active Directory, again you need to assign with a certain roles. So like on a subscription level, we have seen some roles, right? Owner, contributor, and reader, we have seen some of the roles. Same way, and Azure Active Directory also, we have certain roles. If at all, if you wanted to, do some operations, you should be having that specific role. Okay, we'll also discuss about those things now, and related to the apps and some of the things. Okay, you can go through those, some of the basic differences. But on a high level, just remember. So this particular Active Directory is a like you have to manage and to have your Active Directory. We simply call it as a AD. Okay, so we need to have a Windows server, and within the Windows server, we need to enable a service called ADS, that is Active Directory Domain Services. But whereas coming back to this particular, Azure Active Directory, it is completely cloud-based and managed by Microsoft. Okay, and coming to the licenses. Okay, let me go back to the previous tab here. Okay, so here we have a different licensing models. Okay, for your Azure Active Directory. So here, okay, we have a free one. Okay, that is Azure Active Directory free, premium one, and premium two. Okay, if I come back here, so on the same Azure Active Directory page, somewhere if you have an option called licenses, when you click on this licenses, okay, so you'll be able to see those features. So here you could see, so these are the licensing features. So these are all the features here you could see. So the initial offerings, okay, what you see here, so these are all coming free for the free trial. Whatever the Active Directory we are using, it's a free license. So here you could see object is nothing but a user. Whenever a user is created, a specific object ID will be created. So here, okay, we have a limit of up to 5 lakhs with a Azure AD free limit, free license. That means in this particular specific tenant, in a free licensing model, we can create up to 5 lakhs users. But when you go with the paid ones, there is no limit for the other licenses. That means, okay, when you go with the premium one or premium two, there will be no limitations. It also supports the SSO, that is single sign-on. So single sign-on is nothing but, so if you're already working, so within your organization, if at all, if you wanted to access some of your internal applications, so by default, it will be routed back to a default Windows authentication, right? Like, your organization username and password. Okay. Just a second, guys. I'll just click back. Sorry. Yeah. So SSO is nothing but a single sign-on. Okay, so within the organizations, okay, whenever if you wanted to access certain application by using a default username and password, so we can also enable the SSO, that is single sign-on. So we have a user provisioning, that is creating the users and some other additional benefits. We can also register the devices. That means, okay, if you have any mobile devices and if you wanted to have a Azure Active Directory authentication, we can do that. And a multi-factor authentication, we call it as a MFA. That means, okay, so whenever you try to log into the portal, right, additionally, it will ask you for the additional authentication, like, getting a OTP on your mobile number or some additional stuff. So that is MFA. How we can configure the MFA also, we'll see that now. Okay, we can also have a basic security and reports also, that also we'll see this now. But when it comes to the, okay, here you could see multi authentication using a phone or SMS. So in addition to that, okay, so when it comes to the premium one and premium two, okay, we'll be having additional advantages, I would say. So when you go with the premium ones, okay, so it is allowed with the branding also. Okay, so I'll show you some of the things here, how the brandings looks like. Okay. So just a second, I'm getting important call. Sorry. So I was talking about the company branding, right? So let's say, okay, when I come back to this Azure Active Directory, so here, okay, we see option called company branding. Okay, so let's say whenever you try to log into your Azure portal, right? Okay, so companies can, uh, enable this particular, company's branding. That means, okay, so let's say, for example, if I go here, if I try to log in to my portal, okay, so if I provide my company's email ID, let's say, for example, uh, I'll give one of my account. Okay, if I enter this particular account, so by default, okay, it will navigate to the company's login page, and wherein in the back end, okay, you will be having this particular company's promotion, that is logo. And if you're working for any certain company, okay, whenever you provide your email ID here, so it will route to the company login page, and whereas, okay, in the back end, okay, you will be having the company branding images. So that is about the company branding, so which is possible only with a premium one or premium two licensing models. I think it is with a premium one. Okay, so you can just provide your password and you can just simply log in. So that is possible, okay, with the additional licensing models, which is not possible with the free licensing models. Okay, if I go back to the overview page, so here you could see the current licensing model, okay, which we are using is a Azure Ready Free. So whenever you create a free trial account, so by default it will be given with a free trial. Okay, and here, okay, let's say the current tenant, okay, we are using, right? So we can create a multiple tenants also on your Azure Active Directory. So if at all, if I wanted to create a new tenant, okay, I can go here and I can say, uh, I think, okay, I need to go to the manage tenants. So when I click on manage tenants, okay, so here, okay, I will be getting an option. So earlier, so for this user account, that is Azure Ramakrishnan, I had an access to these many tenants. Okay, can you see here? Okay, so that's the reason, okay, I'm able to see all of those tenants here. And if at all, if you wanted to create a new one, okay, here you could see, okay, so I'm just creating a new tenant at this moment. And yes, so here, okay, so we have a tenant types, okay, that is B2B and B2BC. So by default, when you create a tenant on Azure Active Directory, it's a default B2B, that is business to business. But if you wanted to have a business to consumer, that means, okay, to a specific client, okay, we can go with this particular B2C. Okay, so if you wanted to know more, okay, how to choose it, what to choose it, okay, here you could see. So what is meant by B2B and what is meant by B2C, and when do you have to choose this particular, B2C, and when do you have to choose this particular B2B. Okay, ideally by default, okay, we go with the B2B, and if at all, if you wanted to have a B2C, provide highly customized signage and other identity management experience for your external facing applications. Okay, so probably I'll say by default I'll go with the B2B here. And when I go to the configuration, so here I need to provide the tenant name. Let's say just for this tenant, this particular tenant has to be unique. I'll just simply name it as, okay, Azure September. Let's say, let me keep it as a 2021. Okay, I'm just naming it as a Azure September 2021, and let me give the domain name. So this domain should be always unique. Okay, so this particular tenant will be created with this particular domain called Azure September 2021.onmicrosoft.com. OnMicrosoft.com will be the default one. And since most of us were from India, let me choose the region as in India here. That means for the India region, okay, I will be, Microsoft will be providing me a separate tenant. And I'll say review and create, and I'll say create it. I think, okay, they're asking some authentication here. Let me go ahead and do that now. I'll say YWJ PYXV. I'll say submit. I think it is small p. I gave it as a capital. Let's see. Yeah, not this one. So sometimes, okay, it might be in progress. Okay, it won't show the process here. But let me come back here. I'll just refresh here. And I just created a tenant called Azure September 2021, right? Let's see this here. Yeah, here you see. Azure September 2021 is created, and this is your domain name, Azure September 2021.onmicrosoft.com, and this is your tenant ID. Okay, a unique tenant ID will be created. So let's say if at all if I wanted to switch to the tenant, let's see how it looks like. I'll say switch tenant. Okay, can you see now? Since I have created this particular tenant called Azure September 21, by using this particular user ID, okay, I will be having a default access. And here you could see this is the name of your tenant, and this is the tenant ID. And if you see, this is a free trial offering. Okay, I'm having one single user because I just created this tenant. Okay, so now if I go to the home page, you will see something like this. Welcome to Azure. Don't have a subscription, check out the following options. So by default, when you create a tenant, you will be not having a subscription access. The subscription what I had created earlier was a different tenant, but for this particular tenant, I do not have any subscriptions. Okay, so in general, whenever you join any company also, probably if you're already working for any company who are using a cloud, so you can just log into your you know this particular Azure portal using your company email ID, and by default when you log in you will be getting the similar page. That means you will be having access to the Azure tenant, but you do not have access to the Azure subscription. That subscription access will be given based on the requirement, okay, to which project you are going to work, and for that particular project what is the subscription. For that particular subscription only you will given with a required access. So okay, what type of role you are going to play, based on that role, okay, they will assign you the role. So here by default, okay, since I created a new tenant, I will be not having any subscription here. So again, if I wanted to go back to my tenant, let's say I'll go to Azure Active Directory tenant. Okay, so this is my tenant. So if I wanted to switch back to my another tenant, just simply go back to the manage tenants. And from here, I can switch back to my tenant. I think my tenant name was something like a Banu. It's a default tenant. Okay, within the default, the domain name is Banu. Yeah, I think this is the one which I made it as a favorite. I'll choose it. I'll switch it. Okay, can you see now? Now I switch back to my previous tenant. And here, if I go back to my home page, okay, I will be, since I'm having an access to the subscription, okay, I'm able to see the complete resources as well. Okay, let me quickly come back to the Azure Active Directory back again. We have seen the licensing models. Okay, so here, okay, so for the licensings, okay, so what are the licensing models we have? Azure AD licenses. Okay, we have a free, premium one, and premium two. Okay, so if I come back here, so these are the some of the overview we have seen. Okay, so managing the tenants and your tenant name, the list of users who have access to these groups will discuss, and application also will discuss now. Okay, and now if I go to the preview features here, so here you could see what are the features, okay, which is Microsoft still developing. So when you say something called a preview, so they are still developing those features. And similarly, you can go to this diagnose and solve problem, same as like other resources. If you have any issues on your Azure Active Directory level, you can go out here. And I think okay, some chartboard preview also is present here based on the use case. Okay, you can just choose it, and Microsoft will give you the appropriate answers. And coming back to the users, okay, let's discuss about the users for today. So within your Azure Active Directory, if at all if you want to create a new user, okay, you can come back to this particular users tab, and from here you can just create the new users. And guest user is something like the user, okay, which is not part of this particular tenant. Okay, when I say create a new user, for creating a new user, here I can say create a new user, and let's say I'll give a username. Let's say I'll provide my name. Okay, and this is the domain name. So the tenant what we are accessing, okay, having this particular specific domain. So by default, okay, so it will be taken as the same domain name, that is Banupriya some Gmail dot on microsoft.com. Okay, and I can give my name here, and okay, so if first name and last name if you wanted to give, you can give. So it is not mandatory at this moment, and I can generate a password. Okay, so you can say auto generate, or you can just create your own one also. Let me generate auto generate, and let me show you the password. I'll just simply copy it. Let me put it somewhere in the browser just to copy it again back. And now if I have any group, I can add this particular user into the group. Since I haven't discussed about the groups, let's not add into any one of the group. And roles, same as we have seen some of the roles in a subscription level, right? Similarly here we have some of the roles. Let's discuss about the roles first, then I will add this user into this particular roles. I'll go to Azure Active Directory, and here you see roles and administrators. So the roles what you see on a subscription level, like a owner or a contributor or reader, are completely different from the roles what you have on this particular Azure Active Directory. If you wanted to perform certain actions on the Azure Active Directory, you should be having assigning these particular roles. You should be having these roles. Otherwise, okay, you will be not able to perform it. So here you could see, okay, application administrator. So we have a something called app registration. If you wanted to do that, okay, we have to have this particular role. We'll discuss about what is that also. Okay, can create, manage all aspect of app registration and enterprise apps. It's a built-in rules. Okay, and similarly, okay, you could see some of the roles. Okay, so if you wanted to have a complete access, complete permission, it should be given with a global administrator. Okay, so we have a separate a super user, I would say. Okay, so highest privileges is the global administrator. So this is something like you can perform all type of activities, okay, by having this particular role, that is global administrator. At this moment on this particular tenant, I'm having the global administrator. That means this particular user account, that is Azure Ramakrishna, is having the global administrative privileges. Okay, you can see the description: can manage all aspect of Azure AD and Microsoft services that use Azure AD identities. Okay, if you give the reader access, okay, you will be having a only view permission. Okay, so currently I'm going to give the global administrator privileges for this user. Let's say I'll say user, and I will assign him as a global administrator. I'll say select, and I have selected the role as a global administrator. And if you wanted to block the sign in of this particular user, you could say when you block this particular user, he will be not able to log in. And you could see the user's location. Let me allow the user's location as India, and I can give the job title. I would say consultant, and the department I'll mention as IT, and the company you can say anything. Okay, I'll mention as a TCS as an example. And if you wanted to assign the manager, okay, so these are the users, okay, I have here in this particular tenant, right? I can choose any one of them and I can assign them as my manager, and I can say create it. And this particular user account is created now. So by default, this user account does not have any subscription access. Let me show you that now. So this is the tenant user. Okay, so since this particular user is created within the tenant, the user will be having this particular email called the domain name dot on microsoft.com. Okay, so this tenant domain. So let me try to log into this account. Let's see how the view looks like. I'll say copy it, and let me open my new window. Sorry, first let me go to the portal.azure.com, and I will paste that particular user account. So let me click on next, and this is my initial password, right? Let me copy this password and I'll paste it. So, and a first login, whenever you log in for the first time, it will ask you to change the password. Okay, so here I'm giving some different password now. Okay, so let me say sign in. Okay, so they're asking you to protect your account for setting MFA. So we can just skip it for the 14 days. I'll say skip for now. And if you see, I just created a user on my tenant, and I just log into the portal by using this particular account called Ramakrishna at the rate of Banupriya, that domain name. Now this particular user by default will not be having an access to the subscription. If at all, if you wanted to grant a permission to the subscription, again, you have to come back here. Let me go back to the subscription. So this is the subscription. So again, on a subscription level, you need to provide the required permissions. Okay, let's say I'll go to the IAM. I'll say add. Okay, I wanted to assign a reader permission for this user. Let's say I'll give owner permission. I'll say next. And I need to choose the member, and here I need to give that particular user account. Okay, so this is the user account, that is Ramakrishna at the rate of Banapriya 410 Gmail. Let's select that user and assign it. I'll say review and assign. So by default, when you join any company, so since your account is created on your Active Directory, on-premises Active Directory, by default that ID will be synced, that account will be synced with your Azure Active Directory also. How the syncing will happen, how we can migrate, we'll see maybe tomorrow or day after. But once you have the ID ready, we can grant the permission by going to the respective subscription. Now if I go here, so if I do refresh, this user will be having access to the subscription. Can you see? Is having access to the subscription. Okay, so if I click on subscription, you could see the name of the subscription. So this is how do we generally create the users and provide an access. So let me come back here. So it is a very easy, okay, to create a single user. Okay, and let's say this inviting a user is something like if you wanted to invite any external user. Okay, something like a Gmail account or Outlook.com or any additional company's account. Okay, so that is about inviting a user. And let's say if at all if you wanted to create a bulk users, let's say creating one user is very easy. And if at all if you wanted to create a bulk users like a 50 users or 100 users, okay, at once, okay, either we have to follow some automation or else, okay, we have a feature here for creating the bulk users. Here you could see bulk operations. I'll say bulk create. Okay, here you could see bulk create, bulk invite, and we can delete a number of bulk users also, delete also. Okay, so here, okay, I just click on the bulk user for creation, and here it will be given with some CSV file. You need to download it, and you need to edit that file, and again you need to upload it back, and you need to submit it. So let's open this file. Okay, I'll say open it, and this is the CSV file. Let me see here what else we have. It requires a display name, username with your domain name and initial password and some other details. So let me copy my tenant name here. So this is the tenant name, right? That is Bhanupriya something. I'll come back here. Let me try to create some users here. Okay, I'll try to create some users now. I'll say for one. Okay, the domain name should be your domain name. Okay, at the rate of whatever the domain that you have here. When you are currently you are in this particular Active Directory and the name of the domain is, okay, so this is the one, that is Bhanupriya something. Okay, so let's say this password and all, okay, I will give it as the same thing, and let me try to give some more names. Okay, I'll say Ram at the rate of, okay, the domain name, and who else we have? Sorry, I don't remember the names. Okay, Ritika, Shravanti, Shrikant. Okay, let me take their names. Okay, I'll say Ritika at the rate of the domain name. Okay, Shravanti. Okay, I'll say Shravanti at the rate the domain name. Sorry, I need to copy it again. Let me copy from here. Okay, so let me try to add one more user. I'll say Srikant. Okay, Srikant at the rate this domain name. Let's see who else I have. Suresh, code is for Hepzibah. Okay, I'll create a user called Suresh. Okay, Suresh at the rate of this username and Hepzibah. Okay, and who else we have? Okay, I'll just name it as code as well. So here, okay, I have created a multiple users. Okay, so let me keep one more extra, that is copy. Yeah, so these are the list of users, okay, currently I'm creating, and let me delete this example. So there they have given as an example, right? Let me try to take the same password here. Or else if you wanted to give some unique password, you can give it. So for the sake, okay, let me copy this password and I'll put it here. Okay, so now I have edited the users, and let me delete this example. And here you could say display name will be coming these and username, and here altogether I'm creating almost 9 users. Okay, and the rest of the details, if at all if you wanted to give, you can give. If not, okay, it is not mandatory. So just for the demo, I'll save this file. Okay, I've saved it and I'll close it. So do you wanted to save the changes you made? Yes. Okay, I need to save with the same file. I'll go to downloads. Where was it downloaded? What was my download location? Just a second, guys. Let me see where it is downloaded, which is there in the downloads only. Okay, I'll say close it. I'll say save it. Yeah, here it is having text format. That is the reason I'm not able to see that. And here I need to choose the CSV format. Make sure you need to choose. I think here I have a 2 CSVs. I think I have to choose the above one. Okay, and this is the file. Just save it. Already exists. Do you want to replace it? Yes. So user template CSV may contain a features that do not complete with the CSV treatment. Do you wanted to keep the workbook in this format? Yes. So I made the changes and I have uploaded here. Now let me go ahead and upload it back. So I downloaded the file, I edited it, and I have to upload it now. I'll say upload, and this is the file I need to choose. And sometimes, okay, so it will show you as an invalid format because maybe I have chosen the wrong format for the. Let me open that file and I will say save as again. So this is the file. Okay, so I have these are the details, and I'll say save it. Okay, so this time let me save with the same file. Okay, let me add one more user. I'll say demo at the rate of the username. Okay, so let me take the same password for this user. Okay, I saved it. When I close it, it asks for the save. So here, okay, this time I will choose another CSV format. Yeah, I think I need to choose this particular comma delegated format. CSV comma delegated I need to choose. Okay, I'll go with the same name. I'll save it. I'll override it. So I'll say yes. Let me try to upload it back again here. I'll say upload it. I'll choose this format. Can you see now? The file is uploaded successfully. So when you're trying to save it, okay, there we have a 3 type of .csv format. So we need to say comma delegated. Okay, now it is successfully uploaded, and when I click on submit, whatever the user accounts I have provided that in that file, so those number of user accounts will be created now. So the operation still is in progress. So once it is done, you'll be able to see that. And here you could see it is succeeded. So let me close this. And if I do refresh here, whatever the 10 user accounts I have created, right? I should be able to see those 10 user accounts here now. Let's say refresh, and can you see all of those user accounts are just created in a single goal by having this particular bulk operation. Okay, I have created a user called demo, and they will be having the same domain name. And here you could see the type, okay, user type will be coming as a member. That means, okay, this user accounts, okay, I have created on the same tenant, and other, okay, it will be coming as a guest. Okay, so these are all the user accounts, okay, I just created. Okay, here you could see all together 10. Okay, so let's say, for example, let me try to log into any one of the account here now very quickly. I'll go with the Suresh one. Let me copy this. Okay, let's say when you create a user account, you forget the password and you need to reset it. So for resetting your password, you can select your user account. Here you could see a reset option. Let's click on the reset password. So when you click on the reset password, here you could see this particular will be assigned with a temporary password that must be changed in the next sign in. So when you reset your password, you will be given with some temporary password like this. Let's say I'll copy it. Let me put it here. And if I wanted to log in, let me close this window. I'll open a new Cognizant window. I'll say portal.azure.com, and let me copy this user account, that is Suresh, and this is the password, right? Let me copy the password, and in the first login it will ask you to change the password. So let me give the new password for this user, and a same. Okay, I can skip it and say yes. So now we could see I log in with a new user account, okay, which I have created. So reset the rate of so and so, and by default this user will be not having a Azure subscription access. We need to grant Azure subscription access again separately. Okay, so this is how we can create the bulk users. Let's say if at all if you wanted to create delete the users also, you need to follow the same thing. And this is pretty much about the resetting the password, and we have one more extra called MFA, that is multi-factor authentication. So this MFA you might be already familiar with. Let's say for example, whenever you're trying to your Gmail, let's say apart from your computer, if you try to log in any different computer along with a password, Google will ask you to for additional authentication or like OTP, or maybe they will send you some pop-up on your phone where you log in with Gmail. Okay, that is called MFA, that is multi-factor authentication. So within your organizations also, so whenever you log into your any one of the application, apart from your sign in, okay, so it is mandatory recommended that you need to have additional authentication. For that, okay, companies might be using some authenticator apps like a Microsoft Authenticator or a Google Authenticator, maybe SMS based authentication. Okay, we have a Okta also for the Active Directory, so they will be using the Okta authentication also. Okay, let's see how we can enable the authentication here. So I just created one user, right? That is Ramakrishna. Okay, so this is the user account. So I will enable the multi-factor authentication for this user. I'll just click on this particular MFA. Okay, so here let me go to that user account and I'll just enable this MFA. I'll say enable it. So when I enable this particular authentication, okay, here you could see now it is enabled. So by default, okay, whenever I try to log into this user account, along with my password, it will ask me additional authentication. And let's try that now. I'll copy this account. Okay, let me try to log in here. Let me close this. I'll open a new window. I'll say portal.azure.com. Okay, I need to specify my account, and this is also the password I have given earlier. So along with this, now it will ask me to set the MFA. Okay, within the organizations, whenever you log into your portal also, for the first time logins, okay, it will ask you to set a MFA like this. Okay, so you can say next, and when you click on next, okay, here you could see how we can set up the MFA, that is multi-factor authentication. So here you could see for setting up the multi-factor authentication, okay, here you have an app or a phone. So they have given two methods. So I want to use a different authenticator app, and here you could choose, I'll go to the next. You can choose this particular scan code. Probably let's do one thing. So maybe you can just download this particular Microsoft Authenticator app, okay, from the Google Store. Okay, so this is the Microsoft Authenticator app. Okay, so once you log in, once you download it, okay, so you need to configure this particular MFA. So I want somebody of you to quickly download this particular MFA from your mobile very quick. Can somebody do it now?
Yeah, I can do.
Yeah. So let me know once you download this Microsoft Authenticator app. So we have a Microsoft Authenticator app. We have a Google Authenticator app also. So for the setting up this MFA. So once you've done it, so let me know. So you need to scan this QR code. So once you download, okay, there you will be seeing an option called add an account. So there you can just, when you click on add an account, you will be getting a option to scan it. You can just scan this image.
Okay, it seems a issue in my mobile. It is still showing as 20.
Okay, no worries. So ideally, okay, so I want you to do it. Okay, so maybe you can just, enable the MFA. Okay, go ahead and, set up the MFA. So what will happen is when you add it, okay, your account will be added. And for the authentication, it will ask you for the OTP, or maybe on your same authenticator app, it will give you the pop-up. You need to approve it. So let me show you some of the images here, how it looks like. Okay, so this is how it will be, coming as a pop-up once you add an account. After giving the password, it will give you the, pop-up like this. Okay, so there you need to approve or deny it. Okay, you can just simply say approve it. And when you add an account, you can add this MFA for your LinkedIn account, your Facebook accounts also. Let's say, okay, so here you could see these are list of accounts. Okay, you can add even for your Facebook account also. You can just enable this, I guess. Like even for your Gmail accounts. Okay, maybe you can try from your side setting up this MFA. Okay, take this as a lab for today. And this is what, okay, how we can, enable the MFA, resetting the password, creating the bulk users. Okay, and here let's quickly discuss some of the additional concept here. That is, let's say if at all if you wanted to monitor the list of users who are trying to connect to this particular tenant, this particular Azure portal. So here we have an option called sign-ins monitoring. Under the monitoring, we have a sign-in logs. The same option you could see under the users. Here you could see sign-in logs. When I go to the sign-in logs, I can monitor, okay, the list of users who are trying to access my portal and which IP and which location. Okay, so here you could see this is the user Ajur Ramakrishna. Okay, this is an account currently I'm using. Okay, so currently I'm in nearby KPSB, but it is showing Domalguda. I'm not sure, but here you could see the appropriate location and my IP. So if you see, if I go to the portal and if I say what is my IP, okay, so this is my IP which internet service provider is provided. Okay, I'm trying to access my internet on this particular IP, that is 124.123.180.171. Can you see 124, 123, 180, 171? You can also monitor, okay, the users who are trying to access your portal, from which location, from which user ID, and everything you can monitor. Okay, so this is the request ID and this is the username. This is an application, and here you could see the location, and you can also see the time zone. I'll say, yeah, I think the here itself. Yep. Okay, it will also show you. Okay, so currently I connected using Azure portal, right? If at all if you connect using any CLI or PowerShell, that also it will show you. Okay, here you could say somebody is trying with some different IP. Okay, so some different location. Okay, so everything you can monitor at what time, who has logged in into your account, everything you can monitor by using this particular sign-in logs. Sometimes in interviews, okay, if you get a question, if at all if you wanted to monitor the users who are logged into your Azure portal, okay, how will you do it? Okay, you can just talk about this sign-in logs. Okay, so for today, okay, probably okay, we'll stop it here. So I'll just quickly recap. We just have discussed how to create a new tenant and how to switch between the tenant, and we have seen what is the difference between normal Active Directory and Azure Active Directory, and within Azure Active Directory, what are the user licenses we have and their basic differences. And once okay, we went to the users and we have seen how to create the users. Similarly, how to create a bulk users, how to reset the password of the users, how to reset, set up the MFA for the users, and how to monitor the user logins. So maybe from tomorrow, okay, we'll jump into the additional topics, and we'll also see one of the very important concept called AD Connect. If at all, if you wanted to migrate your on-premises user to Azure Active Directory, we use this particular tool called AD Connect. So how to do that? Okay, we'll see maybe tomorrow, and we'll discuss about the rest of the options tomorrow. So with that, I'm stopping my recording here.